Hey guys, it's Chala from PS I Love You, and I am back with another Scrap and Stamp card for you today. This one is to celebrate the 3D challenge that we have going on, and this has got a little bit of a 3D element to it, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. I'm starting off here with the Lawn Fawn Reveal Wheel die set here. I love this set. There's so many things you can do with it. And then I'll be using this Keep Swimming add-on. I'll be using the little fishbowl. And then, of course, the Keep Swimming stamp set. I've used this one before and I love it. I'll also be adding some elements from the My Favorite Things Friends at First Sip set, which is also super cute. And I'll link to those over on the Scrap and Stamp blog. I'm breaking in this baggie to show you here. That's where the 3D element will come in. And I want to keep that a surprise just for now. Alright, so I start off here and I cut out the panels that I'm going to need for the reveal wheel card, and then I cut out some of these decorative elements as well, using the same die set just to keep those stitched lines consistent throughout the papers, and then of course those little wheels there. I start off just by attaching the decorative panel with a tape runner here to that cardstock white piece, and that's already got the fishbowl add-on cut out from it. And that's really simple to do. I've showed videos where I've used the reveal wheel before, and I'll try to link to those in this video as well so you can see how that works. So just laying this pattern piece over top of that just to give it a little bit more security and sturdiness. Security, I'm not sure why I said that. Sturdiness is what I wanted to say. And then again, just adding this green decorative paper on the bottom just to give it some grounding. This is going to kind of be my floor element to the scene, or the carpet. Kind of reminds me of the green shade carpet my grandma had in her house growing up, and I thought it was fun. And then I'll just add this white piece of cardstock here just to kind of act as the baseboard, just to give it a little bit more of a 3D, I guess, feel and look to it, just give it some dimension. So here's the brad that I'm going to be using to attach the interactive wheel portion of this, and you can see it's got those embossed lines. So I'm going to actually flip that over and I'll attach that smaller circle piece to the back, just feeding my brad through that hole there, and then opening up those little prongs. You want those embossed lines to be on the front, and I'll show you why here in a minute. I'm using these really small little, what are they, adhesive, I can't even think. What are these called? Adhesive squares? Yes, that's the word I'm thinking of. Just to pop those up on so that the wheel can actually move nicely. And then what I'm doing is, you see this embossed line here. I'm going to make sure that that is just slightly underneath the paper so you can't see it, and as well at the top underneath that fishbowl element, just placing it so that you it's just barely being covered by the paper. And then that allows me to get the proper turn on the wheel. I lay that on top of the other cardstock piece and then push down so that those adhesive foam pieces stick down, and then you can see that my wheel turns here. I am going to remove this quickly here because I do need to still do some stamping on top of it. That just allows me to get the mechanism set up. I kind of created this template here, although you can purchase the templates from Lawn Fawn, and I'll show you kind of how I did it here. I just cut an extra wheel and then put it in my die cut here, and then cut it out 3 times. I'll link to the actual template you can get from Lawn Fawn. Again, I'll have that over at the Scrap and Stamp blog post, so go ahead and make sure you check that out. So you can see here where I need to exactly stamp my images within there. That just makes it so that I don't actually have to trace out with a pencil. You could definitely do that though if you like. I just don't like having to go back and erase my pencil lines. Sometimes I find that they still kind of show through. So I'm choosing my little fish element here that I want to stamp down, and I'm using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I do want to do some Copic coloring. I'm using some post-it tape here just to attach this little template I've made to my reveal wheel, and using this little craft pick here just to line up those holes, making sure everything's lined up nicely and will stamp perfectly. That Post-it note adhesive tape is really great because it's that low tack and it won't rip your cardstock. So I'm going to start off with this, little goldfishy here, and then I'm going to move up towards the puffer fish, the one who's not fully inflated, but the middle guy there. and stamping him down in the center there. And I do add an extra piece of post-it tape just because it was lifting. I wanted to make sure I got it positioned perfectly. And I get him stamped down, and then I move on to the biggest puffer fish there, blowfish. And stamping that down in the last fishbowl area there. I do kind of like to set this aside for a while to set up a bit for the ink so it doesn't smear, but you can see that that's all stamped down. So I do end up leaving it for a bit before I color it. Those images are so cute. So I've actually gone ahead and stamped out those images from the My Favorite Things set. I've gone ahead and stamped out or die cut out the little fishbowl here. Everything's been colored up, as you can see, and now I'm just adhering everything down with my Gina K Connect glue. I like this glue a lot. I have been having some problems with my nozzle getting kind of clogged up, but I think that has to do with the temperature in my craft area. I'm in the basement, so I think it just the temperature is kind of making it clog up. So I'm just taking my little stamped images here, and I'm laying them out to create my scene. I wanted the lady there that I have with the purse, she was actually originally holding a coffee from that My Favorite Things stamp set, Friends at First Sip, and I cut that out and I actually inserted the little fish food container into her hand instead. I thought that would be really cute. I'm popping those up with some foam tape. And I just thought it'd be really neat to combine stamp sets. So don't be afraid to do that. Even if they're, from different companies, you'll find that they can actually work really well together to create some really cool scenes. So I have her there, and I've got the little dog, and I adhere him down on the right-hand side there. Again, this guy, I just used the Gina K Connect glue. I wanted him to kind of be flat on the image. I wanted the lady to be popped up. And then that kind of sets my scene. I do need to go ahead and stamp down my sentiment right away here, and I'm bringing in an acetate piece so that I can make sure I get my sentiment exactly where I want it to be and not mess up my card at this point, because if I stamped anything crooked or I'm not quite right at this point, I would honestly cry, because I put so much effort into it at this point, getting the images cut and colored and all of that. So I do recommend this technique. If you have just a piece of, plastic from packaging, you can definitely use it this way. So I line up my sentiments on top of that acetate piece. It helps me get them in place. And then I can just take my Stamp Perfect here and close down the lid, and that will transfer those sentiment pieces onto the lid. And then I'll peel off the acetate. I'm just trying to make sure I have everything lined up. I wanted to add that exclamation point in after, because that one can be a little bit tricky and finicky to place down on your piece there. So I have everything lined up where I think I want it, and using my magnets to hold down that acetate piece. And I will ink up with my using that Versaclair Nocturne ink. That's my favorite sentiment ink. And you can see I like how that's stamped down, so I'll remove that piece. I can wipe that ink off later, and then this will just stamp right down onto my project now. And then everything looks fantastic. So it says, "Hope your day is swell." All right, now we're going to put the items together. I'm going to fast forward this here a bit. I'm re-adhering that with the brad, that little turning piece, and laying that top panel over top, and then you can see how it moves back and forth. It's just so much fun. And now it's going to come to the fun part. So I played around with some different ways of doing this. I've got this Got to Be Ultra Glued hair gel here, and I have some Recollection sprinkles, and I'm putting it into the baggie and squirting a bit of this in. I wanted to play around with different ways of doing this kind of interactive 3D element of actually having it look like there's water in the fish tank. So I just put that gel inside. It's clear gel and these sprinkles, and I'm kind of just moving the sprinkles around inside the bag there just to get them dispersed throughout the gel, just to see what this would look like and if it would be clear enough to see through. And although the gel is clear, it does have a bit of a tint of almost like a yellow to it. And it could work. It wouldn't be bad, but I couldn't see through it as well as I had wanted to. So I'll just kind of lay this on top here, and it doesn't, I mean, it's okay, but it doesn't work as well. So then what I do is, I'm just trying to show you I had an extra piece here. Yeah, it was okay, but I wasn't in love with it. So you could do this, but I'm going to highly recommend the second technique here, which is the hand sanitizer. This worked really well. I originally did it with water with this card, and I'll show you later on, but water can sometimes seep out of the baggie if you don't have baggies that seal really well. So I wanted to give you an alternative. And the hand sanitizer works well because it's a bit thicker in consistency, not as thick as the hair gel that I was using. The sprinkles seem to float around quite well, and you can see through it much better than the hair gel that I used. So I think in the end, I will use the hand sanitizer is what I will use as my go-to. But like I said, with this one, I'm showing the Recollections Ocean Sprinkles here that I used just the glitter. This one I did do water. But like I said, if you don't have a really good sealing baggie, the water will seep out. So just keep that in mind. So with this, I'm just using a pipette here, and I have a water bottle that I just refill and use for my watercoloring, and I have it sitting on my craft desk. So I just use this to pipe in some water into this baggie. And you don't need much, just enough to be able to cover the image when you lay it flat. And so you kind of want to work out some air bubbles out of there. Not all of them, because it's nice to have some air bubbles showing within it, but get most of the air out as you can. You do want it to lay as flat as possible so it doesn't get punctured. I don't know if I would recommend mailing this type of card. It would be one that you'd kind of want to hand deliver just in case. I'm not sure what the mail goes through when it goes through the post office. I don't know if it would get squished or punctured. So that's something you want to keep in mind. If you did mail it, I'd probably put it in a bubble envelope. So here I'm just adhering down the baggie just with some clear tape. And then what you'll want to do is with that baggie is maybe just fold over the top a couple times just so it doesn't leak out. I am adding some foam tape here, and I will double this up to give the dimension that I need in order for that wheel to move, as well as that little baggie piece to sit nicely inside. So I go ahead and fold that over and just trim it up. And then just smoothing it down. And then I will have to trim it in half here, just for that wheel to move nicely. And it's really important when you're using a foam tape like this to have a nice, good, sharp pair of scissors. I usually have a dedicated pair of scissors when I am working with adhesives. Like these purple handled ones are typically my adhesive scissors. I don't like to kind of cross-contaminate in case I do get some of that adhesive stuck to the blades of my scissors. I don't want to be cutting cardstock necessarily with it because I don't want it to stick or get all mucky. So like I said, I'm just removing the liner of the foam tape here and placing it all around the outside of that wheel mechanism, making sure that you can still spin it freely. The last thing you want to do is end up getting it stuck and then you can't spin it, and that ruins the excitement of the card. So just continuously making sure that that element of it can still move. And the last few pieces here. If you don't have a big mama roll of foam tape, I highly recommend getting some. It's a great tool to have for your projects. So just flattening out this piece here again, trimming it up. And then once I get this laid down, I'll start to begin removing that liner tape from the foam tape. These cards are so much fun. I love the reaction of the recipients when I give it to them. They're always just amazed at how we can do these interactive cards. So I'm just making sure everything's working here the way I want it to in terms of that baggie with the glitter in it and that back piece. So I'll lay that over top and give it a spin, and everything looks great for me. So I'm going to remove the liner tape here. And then lay this panel over top. And I find that if you line up 3 of the corners here, the 4th one should lay down perfect on its own. Just double checking, making sure everything's sticking, and give it a shake. Oh my goodness, this is so much fun. I absolutely love this. Look at that. It actually looks like the fish is in water, which is so much fun. Alright, so now we need to work on securing the back of this baggie. Here I just fold it over once. I would probably fold it a couple times if you're using water, and then just secure it down with some tape or washi tape. And then you can see here that everything is spinning and working. I just love that. So much fun. I like how the glitter floats around in there. Now it's time to adhere this panel to our card base, and it's a top folding A2 size card that I have here, and I'm using the score tape because this is great strong adhesive, and I know that this card's going to be played with quite a bit, and I want to make sure that it doesn't come off. So very important that you use a nice strong adhesive for this panel. Applying it right over top of the back of that baggie just to give it some extra security in knowing that it's not going to open up. And I kind of really go to town with layering this score tape up. You probably don't need to use as much as I am here, but yeah, I overkilled it a bit, but I did not want it coming off. Again, if you're interested in any of these supplies that you are seeing me use today, I will link what I use over on the Scrap and Stamp blog so that you can find everything over there. Make sure you always check out their What's New section. They have lots of things coming in these days. Some great things like the new Tim Holtz oxide sprays. Those are looking like so much fun. I can't wait to get my hands on those and use some. So yeah, definitely keep checking back there to see all the new items they're having come in, and they've got Gina K now. So yeah, very exciting. Anyways, back to the card here. I'm removing the release paper here so that I can apply the panel onto my card. And then this part I always get nervous at because I have a problem of adhering things down crooked, so I'm really trying to take my time here, making sure it's lined up perfectly, and then I can gently press it down. You don't want to press too hard on that baggy portion, otherwise all that water will come squirting out. You don't want that. And then I use the little directional arrow that comes in the reveal wheel die set there, and I just cut that out of some green cardstock, and using my reverse tweezers I will adhere that down just to show the recipient the direction that they want to turn the wheel to get that you know, the full images of our little scene here. All right, and then now that that's done, we can go ahead and of course play with it. Look at that little glitter floating around in there, and then you turn it and you can see that he blows up or he swells up, and that's I had to play with it again. Let's be real here, guys. How can you not want to play with this? Look at that, so cute. Love that the sprinkles float around. Just so much fun. It really adds that extra dimension to your card doing that, and people are always amazed at how'd you do that? So simple, fun, and yeah, I love it. I can't wait to do more. There's lots of different sets from Lawn Fawn with the fish and the mermaids that you can actually use this technique on, so check that out. Here's a closer look at this card. Hope your day is swell. Altering some stamp sets, combining some different stamp sets is what we did today. I hope that you enjoyed today's card and that it gave you some inspiration for your own 3D element card. Head over to Scrap and Stamp to check out all the supplies that I used today. As well, I would really love it if you liked and subscribed to my channel so that you can keep up on all the crafty things I do. Remember, you can share your creations over at the Scrap and Stamp challenge page over on Facebook. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time.